From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome to the Wow Report. I am Tom Campbell, Chief Creative Officer at World of Wonder, joined this week as he's here every week. He's the best. He's James St. James. He's club kid turned best-selling author, James St. James.
I have nowhere else to be. I just sit around all week long at my microphone waiting for the cameras to turn on.
Well, here we are. And joining James and I is the inestimable Blake Jacobs, our producer, and soon becoming maybe the most popular co-host here on the Wow Report. There's a lot of love for you, Blake. A lot of love.
There's not against James.
Oh, well,
there's not a lot of love coming from James, I'll tell you that.
Fenton Bailey, our fearless leader, is out conquering the world. So we are here keeping the home fires burning. But as we count down the top 10 things this week that made us go, wow. And we're going to jump right in at number 10.
Number 10.
Coming to you from Bogota, Colombia, which is not what I'm here to talk about. I'm having this amazing time producing a show that you'll know more about in the future. And I have a little bit of diarrhea. Just a little bit of
Ew.
So I'm a little run down and I may slur my words.
TMI.
Okay. All right. We can cut that part out.
No, go into more detail.
That's all.
Is it Ronnie?
I'm not alone. Let's just say I'm not alone. I'm surrounded by people who are suddenly leaving in mid-conversation to go. But speaking of diarrhea, it's such a bad segue. I apologize. But if you're on my algorithm this week, you cannot escape. My name is Barbra, the 970-page autobiography, the first ever, the only book in the world that seeks the truth. Barbra, my name is Barbra. Have you guys seen any interviews? Have you read any of the book?
Well, we are in a golden age of celebrity autobiography right now, starting with Jada Pinkett Smith, moving on through Britney, and then we have Barbra. And from all I've heard on my algorithm is that she spends 15 pages talking about sewing on a button. And she mentions coffee-colored and tan-colored about 300 times, that everything is like a vanilla-colored cashmere, that she talks about her outfits.
It's funny you mentioned the color thing. First of all, I'll just say big picture. It is both tremendous and tedious. Tremendous in that Barbra Streisand has almost outlived all her critics. She gets the last word. This is her first autobiography, and she's truly unique in the
pantheon of celebrity.
Thank you. She's just truly unique. At the same time, it's such an intimate, chatty 970 pages, 48 hours if you're listening to the audiobook like I am. And she's obsessed with so many things. But there's also color. She's sort of like, my neighbor was my, Mrs. So-and-so was my first, mother figure, because she didn't get along with her mother. We all know that. And she goes, and I didn't have a doll. I just had a hot water bottle, but it was warm and it was more like a human. And so my neighbor, she knit a little sweater for the doll, and it was maroon. And that's why I think to this day, I love the color maroon. Everything has a tie to and this little girl was mean to me and she was wearing a blue dress. And that's why I think to this day, I don't like the color blue. So it's this.
Yes, that's all I keep hearing about. But everything, it's like butter. The colors are like butter. The fabric is like butter, blah, blah, blah. Yes.
But it's funny because what I do is I listen to the book until I fall asleep. And the best thing to do to take breaks from the tedium is to listen to Barbra Streisand records, to go, the stream. But it's just like the main event, anything you want, she's done, disco, the thing. And so I do all of that. And I recently listened to from the Broadway album, Putting It Together, bit by bit, where she has David Geffen and Sondheim going, they're never going to buy this, Barbra. And she's like, oh, I'm going to try. And at one point, maybe you'll do an interview. She goes, maybe one. Well, she has done 9,000 interviews in the UK, in America, the thing, in the 60 Minutes, and they're as enjoyable as the
Oh,
book.
wait a minute. That's weird that you say that because she hasn't been on The View. She hasn't done Jimmy Kimmel or
No, they
Jimmy
have
Fallon.
all come to her. They're all in Malibu. It's Gayle King walking. Go into YouTube. We're Gayle King walking around. The New York Times interview, which isn't on video, but it was
You say 9,000 interviews, but it sounds like she's being a little picky.
prestigious videos for sure. I mean, interviews for sure. But there's a lot. I mean, she's just chatty, and she's saying, and I kind of believe this for the first time at 80 or something. She's enjoying life. She's enjoying life. You know, John Tolan's
Barbra. What's not to enjoy? She's got a great husband. She's got a
hot
great
husband, 25 years.
Yeah. She's got a great career. She does what she wants when she wants. She dresses, she's got it. She's got it all. She really does.
She has a Talbot's in her fucking basement.
Yeah, she has the.
Yes. Do you remember John Tolan's play Buyer Seller with Michael Urie?
One of my favorite plays of all time. And Michael Urie was so perfect. I mean, literally, he did such a brilliant job. I wish they would bring it back. Maybe now they will.
But Barbra Streisand, her myth has been, I'm an ugly duckling. No one loves me. It's like, okay, your mother didn't love you for a couple of years. You've been an international beloved, and her list of men that she slept with are the most beautiful men of the 20th century. So anyway, Barbra, my name is Barbra. It's I say get the audiobook, but I'm lazy.
And it's Barbra Streisand, not Zand, as Siri.
Oh, yes, she did come. She came out with that. Remember, she said it's not Zand, it's Sand. I said,
and she called Tim Cook and had him change Siri to say Sand instead of Zand.
Poor Barbra. Anyway,
I have been listening to Color Me Barbra, the second Barbra Streisand album, the first one. Those early ones to me are the ones where it's just that powerhouse voice that just changed the world.
On a clear day. Okay. Let's move on to number 9.
Number 9.
The Met Gala announced its new theme for 2024. It is Sleeping Beauties Reawakening Fashion.
Thank God you're doing this because I have no idea what that means. Help us all, Jane.
That's just it.
I swear to God, if I see anyone with a pillow back here,
hold on. Here we go. Because despite what it sounds like, it has nothing to do with Disney princesses. It has nothing to do with sleepwear. It has nothing to do with any of that. What it is it's about taking historically significant garments that are too fragile to be worn again and reimagining them. These outfits that they're talking about have been stored in glass coffins at the Metropolitan Museum because they're too delicate to be on mannequins. That's where the term Sleeping Beauty comes in, because they're in glass coffins. Now, I responded to this on my Twitter, on my X, with like I don't get it, and I have a feeling that the red carpet is going to be a shit show of outrageous proportions, where you're going to have Katy Perry coming as the poison apple. You're going to have a bunch of influencers dressed as, Princess, Aurora, and, The Little Mermaid. You're going to have all these things because nobody is going to get it right. There is no way to properly sort of translate this idea, which is so esoteric and silly. Yes, Tom?
But is Anna Wintour finally taking charge? If there are all these costumes that exist, will she be sending out photos to celebrities and suggesting that they wear Cleopatra's bikini or something?
No, and I have a feeling that therein lies the problem. That if it could have been a clearer message that was sent out there, but all they do is put that out there and let the celebrities and stylists do what they want. My idea is that I've been down on the Metropolitan Ball for a long time now. I think that Anna needs to step down. I'm sorry. I know we love her at World of Wonder. I think she needs to step away from it. I also think that maybe it's time to retire the ball altogether. I think that possibly or just get rid of these esoteric, silly things and just let everybody dress up like they used to do back in the Deanna Vreeland or Pat Buckley days.
You know what we do sometimes on Drag Race is we just have a color, like make it the red ball.
Yeah, exactly.
1 year and then a different color next year.
Do you guys think that this was inspired by Kim Kardashian's?
Well, no, because someone was saying Paul is coming from inside the house here, because if the idea is that you can't rewear these outfits, they had, Kim Kardashian rewearing an outfit, and they should not have. She's not.
But maybe they're saying like this is the correct way to do it, like
possibly. I keep going back to the camp theme that nobody got right, because not one of these silly 20-something influencers or reality stars or stylists had any idea what camp really was. And you had all these people showing up in like gold outfits with a silly, iron on.
They should have all been dressed as James St. James.
It's true. Or just invite me and let me just, get on the red carpet and tell everyone what they're doing right or wrong.
That's our campaign. James St. James, the Met Gala.
Andre Leon Talley is what I could be.
We might have
many ways.
Yeah, and then you could talk to Anna about stepping down in person. I'm sure she'd appreciate the dialogue. All right, James. Well, I have a feeling this isn't the last time we're going to be talking about this year's Met Gala. I don't. But we'll see if it's a disaster or if this might be a course correction. I'm curious to find out. All right. Let's move on now to number 8.
Number 8.
Guys, I watched American Horror Story, as in the standalone horror stories, not American Horror Story. So you didn't have to.
Tell us more.
This season has 4 episodes in it. So it's a short season. It was dubbed Huluween. It was released around Halloween on Hulu for Huluween. The first episode's called Bestie. It's a fucked up love story, pretty much. It deals with bullying, and there are like 2 mean girls and 2 mean gays. So times are changing here. And they're in the Glee Club. Okay. And this ain't your mom and pop's Den and Tonics.
Hey.
James, did you watch any of these?
Well, I heard that Lisa Rinna is in all 4 of them.
She is in, okay, let me just go through it. The second episode is called Daphne, and Gwyneth Paltrow guest voices in that one. It's kind of like a Black Mirror episode. All of these are kind of like Black Mirror episodes, but less technology and more, just horror focused. But this one is could have been on Black Mirror. It's a artificial intelligence assistant like Siri called Daphne, played by Gwyneth Paltrow. And she becomes obsessed with the subject, and things go awry from there,
as they often do on these shows.
Exactly. Episode 3 is called Tapeworm, and that's the one with Lisa Rinna.
I love it. I'm there for that one. That's where I'm going to
think I have that one right now.
Well, this one has Rinna as a Janice Dickinson on America's Next Top Model type. Or
I love it. Yeah.
Sort of when she had that modeling agency and had that show on Bravo or E or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's about this model who she goes to a doctor, and he's like, puts her on the shots. They're called, on the show, what are they called? Mondify. Not Monjourno, Mondify. But that's not working. And he tells her he has a tapeworm he can give her. And so she swallows the tapeworm, and I don't want to spoil it, but shit goes crazy. The 4th episode is actually my favorite. It was called Oregon, and it had that girl from Bottoms in it, the really hot, exotic looking girl, Havana Rose Liu.
Oh, yeah. She's gorgeous. I love her. Yeah.
Yeah. She, this one was about like a group of criminals who would steal organs out of people. They would like seduce the people, take them back to their hotel.
And your kidney is gone. Yes.
Exactly. Except these are like genetically modified organs, like designer organs that would like do special things in you. It was crazy. It's good. I would give the whole season a B- or a C+.
Wait, I thought Lisa was in 2 of them.
No, she's only in the 3rd episode.
Oh, Well, I'll watch anything with Lisa. I love her so much. So
Yeah, I mean, I loved the 4th episode and the 3rd episode. The third one was.
I will do those.
Speaking of parasites, my old friend Simon's dad, who is British and like a pilot for like the Royal Air Force, he once in the 60s went to his doctor and he goes, take these pills and then, live for a month and then take these pills. The first set of pills were parasites and the second set of pills were something to kill the parasites.
Wow.
Well, I mean, there's the famous story about Maria Callas, and she had the 7-foot tapeworm in her, and it would when she'd be sitting down at dinner, it would come out of her mouth because it would smell the food, and then you finally have to drink some kind of poison, I can't remember what it was, and kill it, and then pull it out either way. You have to pull it out.
Was she dieting with that, presumably?
Yeah. She did it on purpose. But the thing about tapeworms is they will come up through your throat and out your mouth when they smell like good food, when they smell a steak or something.
They come out your butt too.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
There was this video of a bear that had tapeworms, and it was literally like a mile long.
Okay. Theron must have showed you that one. That is either a Theron or a Raja or Raven. I know these people.
But remember in the early 2000s, Bette Midler had that sitcom that Lindsay Lohan was on? Yeah. And she had some kind of parasite and lost a ton of weight. Bette Midler had.
In real life?
In real life.
Well, Tom, if you start looking really svelte and chic, we'll know that the diarrhea has been working numbers on you.
Oh my God.
And it's a good thing.
I put the D in diarrhea. Thank you very much. All right. Well, we're off to a great start, people. I know if you're listening, you're like, what are they going to talk about next? How are they going to top this segment?
How can we top the mile-long tapeworm coming out of a bear's butt?
And yet we're going to try. So we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. And we'll be back to keep counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow here on the Wow Report on Radio Andy. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
We are back. This is the Wow Report on Radio Andy. It's Tom, it's James, and it's Blake, and we are counting down the top 10 things this week that made us go wow. Thank you, Blake. We've lost James. He's somewhere. He's frozen, or he's reading something, or
I think he's trying to figure out about Bette Midler's tapeworm from the early aughts.
Oh my God. Well, we are well researched, if nothing else here. We are at the point of the countdown that we like to call number 7.
Number 7.
Out of the country. So I've been relying a lot on YouTube, and I have discovered years later, but this YouTube series called Be Kind, Rewind. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. It's one of the most famous shows of all time. I can't believe
it's one of the most famous shows of all time, and I'm just finding out about it. And I am obsessed. And it's funny because the woman who does it, she's kind of, not in a bad way, but she's woke, but she's also rational. So she talks about old movies, and especially women in movies. And she puts them in context, and she talks about them. And some of my and her name is Izzy. And she's just kind of brilliant. And her early ones were sort of short and 15 minutes long. And now sometimes they're 1 parts or 2 parts. And she did this incredible 2-parter on the making of Valley of the Dolls. Now, if you want to talk about women in film, talk about Valley of the Dolls. Jacqueline Suzanne, the author, and Judy Garland's almost
Sparkle, Sparkle, and
yes, all of it. And then I'll watch that out of order, and then I'll watch a whole piece about Cloris Leachman and how she won the Oscar for The Last Picture Show.
Oh, we think we know Cloris Leachman. We think of her as a comedic actress, but that is one of the saddest roles of all. The whole movie is just, it's so beautiful and just melancholy. But her role as the sort of over the hill woman when she has the affair with the teenage football player.
Then he sort of turns on her, and she just unleashes all of her.
Oh God!
She received that the second season of the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So there couldn't 2 wildly different kind of performances. It goes on to talk about her being in Young Frankenstein. So you live all that. It's so rich. And then the next one will be, she talks about a new genre of films in the last 5 or so years, which is called the book club genre. She had trouble, and it's all the old ladies in hijinks movies.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
It's all those Jane Fonda, Candice Bergen, Lily Tomlin, Sally Field.
Yeah.
And she breaks it down and tells you how they're not really rom-coms. Like My Name is Alice or something, which was the Sally Field rom-com where she was just an older lady in love. But it's just how amazing they are, what the ages of actresses, how that's changed, and how also they're kind of pathetic because it's just like a lot of formulaic sort of like old people sex jokes,
Yeah, they're terrible. They're terrible. But yeah, I would have loved for my mother to be around to take her to them because my mom would have loved it.
Exactly. Yes. And then there's a whole piece about Myrna Loy and how Myrna Loy never received an Oscar nomination.
And when you think about just the opening scene of The Thin Man, when she comes in with the poodles and she sits down and tells the waiter to line up the martinis and she knocks them back. She is so brilliant. And then when you think about how brilliant she was in Midnight Lace when she was an older actress she was, the best friend to Doris Day, and she should have gotten an honorary Oscar for that.
Not to mention the best years of our lives.
Oh, so good. Well, everybody in that got an Oscar except for her.
And Myrna Loy, I did not know this, and there's more to explore, but she started her life, even though she's from like Wyoming or Montana, when she came to Hollywood, they thought they cast her as an exotic. Yeah. So she was an Asian, she was a Mexican, she was all these crazy things. And they were super racist, and she knew it, and she fought against them, and she spent her whole life she's very liberal, very active in causes that help to break all those color lines.
Cynthia Heimel, the great columnist and writer, she wrote essays and stuff. She has a very famous essay called "When in Doubt, Act Like Myrna Loy," and it is so good and so funny. Maybe you can find it online because it was written in the 80s. But the idea that like whatever situation you are in, if you just start acting like Myrna Loy, you're going to get out of this. People will fall down on their knees for you.
And Be Kind Rewind says, she has her exotic page and then The Perfect Wife, and how her acting was all under acting, and therefore people didn't think it was hard, yet she was brilliant and worked with all the best actors. One other thing, and I'll stop, but Julie versus Julie. So it's 1966 Oscars when Julie Andrews and Julie Christie were up against each other. And for Julie Darling. Andrews represented she had just won for Mary Poppins, and she was playing another nanny, and she was very conventional. And then Julie Christie, who's been a little tiny bit forgotten, Julie Christie was this wild. She was like the Sex and the City of the 60s. She was the wild child that went mainstream because obviously she was in Dr. Zhivago. But she won for that, the one where
wasn't it? Darling.
The
swinging 60s, and she was a supermodel in London in the 60s, and then she sleeps with everyone in London and ends up being a princess in Italy.
Yes, and miserable. But that she was such a thing. Anyway, there's stuff about Mommy Dearest, Breakfast at Tiffany's, on and on and on. It's so eclectic. It's so fabulous. Be Kind Rewind. Unless I'm the last person on earth to know about it, I'm sharing my new obsession.
Is this a TV show or just a YouTube channel?
It's a YouTube show, and there are clips that she uses, and there's stuff you never see her, but you can listen to it like a podcast, but it's fun to watch. She's really, really smart. So Be Kind Rewind on YouTube. Watch it. All right, we're moving on now to number 6.
Number 6.
The Mean Girls, the musical trailer dropped this week. And when I tell you that social media is having a field day with it because I'm sorry, talk about another shit show. I just have to put that out there. First of all, and most egregiously, in no way, shape, or form does the trailer let you know that this is a musical. There is no music in it. There is no dancing in it. They have wonkified this completely, is the new term that people are using, because the Timothy Chalamet Willy Wonka that's coming out, and you would never know from that that's a musical. And this is a new thing that they're doing because apparently there are a lot of people out there like our millennial producer Blake Jacobs who will not go to a musical no matter what. They hate them. And so this is their way to trick people into getting the butts in the seats to go do it. I want to just say that the rest of it just looks pretty janky as well. It starts off with a disclaimer saying this is not your mother's Mean Girls, which everyone is like, oh, like
Right.
it's been 20 years, but really, are we that old if we saw it, the
Right.
original one?
They're Mean Girls shaming us.
They're Mean Girls shaming us. Busy Phillips looks like she might be fun as Regina George's mother. we love that. John Hamm is in it, and I love John Hamm in anything. Tina Fey, it's good to see her in anything. I love that. There's a guy, Jackal Spivey, who plays Damien. Played before by our good friend Daniel Francesi. But Jack Hell looks like he's 48 years old. It's like he's only 24, but he just looks old. It just looks out of place. He seems like it's going to be funny. Also, the guy who plays Aaron Samuels, his name is Christopher Briney, I think, and he's getting a lot of hate online about his looks, which is mean, and I don't want to do that. I will say that he doesn't look like an Aaron Samuels. He's a cute kid, and he's got a great career ahead of him, but he looks out of place with the rest of the cast. Also, I don't know. I mean, do we need this? Do we want this?
I just want to interject. I spent my hard-earned money to see the musical on Broadway, which I think the music's done by Tina Fey's husband.
Okay.
So I'm about to alienate the entire family. But it was bad. And it didn't get good. And I almost left the intermission because it was just, it's so hard to take a light, frothy, fast-moving, rom-com movie and turn it into a musical, and a real musical with long numbers and dancing numbers. The second half was pretty good. So I'm hoping, this is their second chance to take the material and make it work, because it did not work on Broadway. Even though it was a hit,
I don't think they had any faith in it, because the music that they used in the trailer was that new Olivia Rodrigo song, instead of using one of the 10 or 15 songs that they have in the musical. Like, what? That shows that you have absolutely no faith in it whatsoever.
Blake, they're trying to fool you, Blake. Don't be fooled, Blake. I don't want to hear about you going to see Mean Girls, you're the young person's Mean Girls, and then be trapped in a musical. You've been warned.
Well, I just want to say that although I do love music, I usually do just not like musical movies. But on my list next, I want to go see Dix the musical that you talked about a couple of weeks ago. So we'll see.
I can't wait. All right, James, thanks for the warning. Mean Girls.
Wait a minute. Didn't you like I'm Just Ken? Didn't you think that was great in Barbie? I thought that was one of the high points of the year, Blake.
I didn't love that.
Just disagree.
Like the song?
Blake, just agree with him.
I loved it.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on now to number 5.
Number 5.
Another celebrity memoir. We haven't talked about this yet, really, I don't think. Britney. I think we all owe Britney an apology.
Yeah.
I just finished the book. I just feel like with Britney, we had it all wrong. And we, myself included, all owe her an apology for the skepticism, because we all filled in the blanks since 2005 and just assumed what the media told us to be true. Like she said, shaving her head was meant to be more of a fuck you to everyone, a la Sinead O'Connor. And we all took it to mean that she was crazy and didn't deserve to be around her kids. And we didn't know that Kevin was keeping the kids from her, like wouldn't let her see them at all. And that's why she went crazy with the umbrella and everything. And she talks about how, she knows how crazy she looked. She had a shaved head, and what is an umbrella really going to do? But it was just, she snapped at that moment. And it just, I don't know. It's so sad if everything she says is true, what her family did to her is just horrific, I think. Like, used her and doubled down on the fact that everyone called her crazy and used that against her to put her in a conservatorship to keep her making money for the family. It's just sad. And I love Britney, and I'm glad that she's out of it and that bluer skies are ahead. And
I think we all do. I think that like I think as we mentioned on the show before that Britney is somebody that we worry about, we love unconditionally, that she has been there for us in our best moments, in our darkest moments. She's just always been a part of our lives, I think, for especially for, you know, people of young kids, young people, she's always been there for them. And
well, and I feel bad because I feel even on this show we talked about 2007 and how it was my favorite year, and it was because Britney was crazy and blah blah blah. And I feel like I glamorized that, and
it's a lesson for all of us, and we get
exactly.
You know, time changes, and hopefully because the narrative attached to Britney worldwide was very weird. And again, I do think, and what do I know, that she does, you know, battle certain mental, you know, health issues, which a lot of us do. And
trauma. I think she has trauma.
Yeah,
but I think it's true.
Trauma.
But when people go crazy on planes, for the most part, they're mentally ill. Lauryn Hill right now, there's articles I'm not reading, but there's headlines about how late she is for her concert, and these, you know, they kind of make hay of it. And it's kind of like, isn't Lauryn Hill, you know, again, God bless everybody. Everyone's just trying to get through the day. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to talk about Britney. I love Britney and I want her to be well, but I don't want to speculate. And I'm glad she got a chance to tell her story.
I think she's super proud of this book, so I think we should all go out and buy it. I've bought my copy, so do your due diligence.
You know, the fact of the matter is it's the #1 selling celebrity autobiography of all time. In the first week, the first day, it sold 900,000 copies or something like that. It is outrageous because book sales are not like album sales, as all of us know, and that if you sell 100 copies, you're doing okay. So I think that this is it's great for the book industry, it's great for Britney, and it's great for us to be able to read her story at last.
Yeah. I'm just 48 hours away from finishing Barbra Streisand, and then I can jump into Britney. All right, we're going to take a little break. Don't go anywhere. We're counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow on the Wow Report. Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
All right, we're back in the Wow Report, counting down the top 10 things this week that made us go wow. I'm Tom. This is James. That's Blake. Fenton is away on business, but we're holding it down. And we are already, time flies, we're at number 4.
Number 4.
Interesting that I say number 4 because I just watched a 4-part docuseries on Netflix last night about Robbie Williams, the boy bander from Take That. Who went on to have a spectacular career on his own. It's an interesting setup because there are no talking heads. It's just Robbie in his underwear, lying in bed, watching video of his career and commenting on his career. Yes.
What kind of underwear?
Black thong. Actually, no. You see everything. It's lots of dangly bits.
All right. Okay. I'm going to fast forward during this part when I listen to it because I'm in. I'm going to watch it.
But it's interesting because he's really hard on himself. He's 52 years old now, I think. And he's looking back on a career that started when he was 16. He was 16 when he auditioned for Take That. And they have that actual audition. He is just this fresh-faced young goofball. And he was the youngest one in the band. And he was the brat, the wild child. And he there's all sorts of footage of him sort of as the band progresses, and after I Want You Back for Good becomes like the biggest hit on the planet. And he starts drinking and starts doing drugs and just gets out of control, and the band kicks him out. And he talks about being a has-been at the age of 20, 21 years old with no hope because the industry was, shut on him because of the way he'd been behaving. And then he has this comeback with Angel. I'm finding angels instead. And that becomes the biggest song on the planet. And he becomes this international superstar of unbelievable proportions. These shows that he does where it's like, 120,000 people are all singing along with him. And then he has hit after hit after hit. Millennial, Rock DJ, which changed music videos for all time as far as one of the most brilliant music. Remember where he pulls his skin off? He's at the discotheque and he takes all his skin off and his muscles and he's a skeleton. It's so good. And then Feel, he has a whole bunch of songs. And through all of this, he has this great relationship with Jerry Halliwell. They're together for a long time. They have all this like footage from when they're, like on vacation together and in bed together. It's really, really
Were they a couple?
They were a couple for a long, long time. And they stopped being a couple when they were trying to go to they'd go to an island like Belize or something like that, and they'd be in this little tiny place in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden there'd be like 300 paparazzis and helicopters and everything like that everywhere they went. They would go to like the local bar, and all of a sudden it'd be besieged. And it turns out he found out that it was Jerry who was calling the paparazzi to come and get pictures of them. So that's how he broke up with Jerry. That's all very fascinating. But anyway, interestingly, through all of this, he gets sober for a long time. He relapses, he gets sober, he relapses, and he keeps trying to break into America. And for some reason, America just never accepts him. It's so bizarre that this powerhouse, this talent that is beloved everywhere around the world, cannot break into America. And it frustrates him to no end. He shows him going on these tours of like these radio stations, and they don't know who he is. And he's trying to get through these conversations with them. And he goes and he'll have like a show, and like 20 people show up. It's so bizarre because then he goes to, London or something like that. But then he sort of learns to love America because he can escape everything and come here and be anonymous. And he sort of loves that. But there's a certain point where he's on this world tour, and it's the biggest tour he's ever done. It's like one of the biggest tour that's ever been there. It's like a spaceship lands, and he pops up out of the, all this stuff. And it's day 100, day 184, day, and it's just every day for like 184 days. And by the end, he has a nervous breakdown on stage. And that is so hard to watch, where he just freaks out on stage, and he goes off and he says, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And they say, if you cancel the next show, you will lose everything. It will cost more than the money you have. And not only that, but you have 400 people depending on you for their livelihood, and you will deny all of them their livelihood. So you have to keep going. And it's that Judy Garland thing.
Oh, no.
He's had a nervous breakdown. He is completely out of his mind, and he is shivering and crying, and on stage shivering and crying and freaking out. And he just has to keep going. He has no choice. It's just absolutely fascinating.
It sounds really raw and really like he really exposes himself.
He really does. He's really, really hard on himself in a way that he's sitting there in his underwear. I mean, you cannot, he is stripped emotionally and physically, and he just is raw. It's just crazy. It's fantastic.
Remind me, because I'm a bad listener. This is on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. Four-part
series, and it's called
Robbie Williams.
Simple.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird how the youngest member of the group is always the big star?
Well, it's supposed to be Gary Barlow. He was the one who was. They were the one that he was supposed to. Oh, I see what you're doing.
It was it was a rhetorical question by our youngest WoW reporter. Who I believe is having a breakdown in front of. Oh no. All right. Let's. You've sold me, James. Even beyond the thong.
I'll tell you something, because we are in a golden age of celebrity Netflix shows, because remember that Andrew Ridgeley was so spectacular. So
and Beckham.
James did not like the Beckham one. Come on, pay attention.
Yeah, but it for British pop stars and British, we love Victoria Beckham. So
all right. We're moving on to number 3.
Number 3.
It's a rest in peace. We lose a lot of celebrities. We don't talk about them all. There's just not enough time. And it's always shocking when a face appears that you haven't seen in a long time, and it moves you so deeply. And actor Peter White, who is famous for a couple of things, he was Link Tyler on All My Children. Yeah. One of the most handsome men, who's born in New York City in 1937. He studied acting at Yale Drama, like totally legit. And he had lots of credits, but he became America famous of our generation for playing the dutiful son of the horrible, bitchy
Phoebe Tyler Wallingford.
Yes. Warwick. And the biggest thing to remember about his storyline, or that I remember, is that there's a wonderful actress who became a director, Francesca James, who I got to know when I was at ABC Daytime, and she played Kelly. And Kelly was, just this sweet, wonderful.
Because he was with Kitty too. Kitty was the one who was the drug dealer.
You are stealing my thunder. Yes, he was with Kelly. No. I met Francesca James. This is an aside. When I worked at ABC Daytime, and everyone knew her as Kitty and Kelly. She played both sisters.
Okay.
And Kelly fell in love with Link, and then she died of a brain tumor. And it was one of those most torturous,
as
loving
only gay kind can do. Yeah.
Yes. And they were so popular, they decided to bring Kelly back as her long lost sister, separated at birth, Kitty. But Kitty wasn't nice. Kitty was rough. And she was like, and somehow Myrtle Fargate had something to do with it because Myrtle came from the circus.
Yeah, Myrtle was a carny gal. Yes.
and both of them, Francesca James and Peter White, appeared in the audience of the Carol Burnett show when Carol Burnett would do those openings as a kid. And we go, by the way, because Carol was appeared on and was a huge All My Children fan.
Oh yeah, sure.
And so she made them stand up like they were the king and the queen. Now I think. And I could be wrong, and it's not really. He died. He had no children, was never married. Peter, I believe, was a gay man, and he appeared famously in the off-Broadway play "The Boys in the Band" as Alan McCarthy, the straight friend. Remember the straight friend, and he also appeared in the movie. And I don't know why it took me until this point in my life to realize that William Friedkin directed the movie.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't know that. The guy who did the Exorcist and lots of other things.
Exorcist and Cruising, yeah.
But Peter it's just soap operas. There's some Instagram channel, and I'll talk about it. I forget what the handle is, but they will play scenes from soap operas. Like there, I just saw recently Ryan's Hope, where Mary Ryan and Frank were like locked in the storage room at Ryan's bar to rekindle their, and it was like 10 scenes put together. And I tell you, it was like Shakespeare in the Park. It was the best acting and the best dialogue.
Well, it's funny you should say that because I know this channel, and I was just watching when the gorilla escaped from the from zoo and kidnapped Delia and carried her to the top of the tombs in Central Park. And I was watching that, and it was like watching, Shakespeare. It was.
Yes, they are they're really beautifully executed. Anyway, so Peter was part of that legacy of the Kitty and the Kelly story and Boys in the Band, which are two huge parts of my life. And he was a handsome gentleman.
Handsome guy, yeah.
And sorry, he's gone. Oh, last thing to tie it to Myrna Loy. He was touring in Barefoot in the Park, national tour, with Myrna Loy playing the mother. And he was being offered Boys in the Band, and he was like, "I have this sure thing, this huge hit." It went on for weeks and months and months and months. And she said, "If you want to be an actor, you need to take risks." And
well, interestingly, I was reading that article that you forwarded me, and the fact that Myrna Loy acted as a mentor to him throughout his career, and in one of a great friend. And I just kept thinking to yourself, imagine how lucky you are to have Myrna Loy as your best friend and mentor. She was just so chic. She was. I
think this episode is just all about saying Myrna Loy. So putting it
Myrna Loy.
All right, we're still counting down, and we have reached number 2.
Number 2.
Another RIP, another rest in peace, another soap opera person. And this is Tyler Christopher, who passed away last week. And, General Hospital has had just such a bad run of it lately. They lost Sonia Eddy, they lost Billy Miller, they lost Jacqueline Zeman, and now they've lost Tyler Christopher. And Tyler Christopher played Nicholas Cassadine on the show. And sadly, Tyler Christopher battled a lot of demons in his life. He was bipolar. He suffered from depression. He suffered from alcoholism. And he was also on Days of Our Lives for a while as Stephen O. DeMira. Not Stefano DeMira, but Stephen O. DeMira.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Big distinction right there. But the story...
Was that his son?
Yes, a son that came back that nobody knew about, one of those sudden sons. But the thing is the stories that I have heard was that he was not frequently drunk on set, that he wasn't able to perform, and that it got to a point where allegedly they had to call an ambulance because he was unresponsive, and that was when he lost his job at Days of Our Lives. And once you do that, you're never going to get back on you've just burned some bridges, and he burned his bridges in daytime, and he was never going to be rehired again because it was such a bad situation. But the fans of both shows will not accept that. And every time they try and recast the role of Nicholas on General Hospital, everyone's like, nobody but Tyler. Bring Tyler back. Bring Tyler. We won't accept anybody but Tyler. We won't accept anyone but Tyler. And they have this one guy that Nicholas is involved in the storyline right now. And they have this new guy who's come on, who's absolutely adorable, who is so good and so fabulous, but the fans will not accept him. Only Tyler, fire him, or get rid of the character altogether. Well, you can't get rid of the character because it's a legacy character. Been around for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. So even though Tyler is gone, the fans aren't accepting this new person. And it's just such a weird thing about super fans that it's just, I have a feeling that it complicated Tyler's life, and it complicates everybody in the soap opera world's life when this happens. And it's a sad situation all around. So rest in peace, Tyler Christopher.
Indeed, and a lot of lovely tributes from his castmates on both shows.
He was a beautiful, beautiful boy. He was a big muscly guy, but just these puppy dog eyes, and he could plumb the depths along with anybody in soap opera land. And he was a great actor.
Yeah, I think he was 50, so very young, too young.
Yeah, but he'd been on the show since he was a teen. I think he'd been around for that long. And
he's made a real
beautiful boy. It's it's a sad story.
Sad story. All right. Well, we're going to take a little bit of break as we figure out. I'm not sure what the number one thing that made us go wow is, but I'm looking forward to hearing it. I hope you are too. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy. Don't go away.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We've reached that time in the show where we reveal the number one thing that made us go wow.
Number one.
We do have to say that the SAG-AFTRA strike has been resolved this week. The actors are able to go back to work. Productions are able to resume. We are going to have possibly a summer 2024 movies after all. I think it is really great. They were able to knock out the thing about the AI. There has to be, you have to get written permission to be AI now. I think that was one of those big sticking points. Anyway, but the other thing that I wanted to talk about for number one was legendary legend Ann Magnuson, who is a club queen. She is a star of stage and screen. She is a longtime friend of WOW. She's a performance artist. She has a new single out called Ghost Cat that is absolutely adorable. It is so funny. It's so fabulous. She debuted it on the Dia de los Muertos Day of the Dead. And it's about urban legends that she remembers growing up in her home state of West Virginia. So there's Ghost Cat, there's Mothman, there's the Fleetwoods monster, and she's singing about all of them in this sort of Appalachian goth dance style.
Metronome.
Metronome. It's so funny. You can get it on Spotify. You can get it on Apple Music, or listen to it on YouTube or her Instagram. Or you can also get t-shirts, Ghost Cat t-shirts available at Damn It Tees on Etsy, DAMMIT.
Well, I feel like the way that Cher is coming for Mariah as the new Queen of Christmas, I think Ann Magnuson might be coming on to Elvira. I don't know. This might be a new Queen of Halloween coming along.
She is the Queen of Halloween. It is so funny. She's so good.
It's a hit. Ann Magnuson, it's a hit. We love it. James, thank you for bringing that to our attention, to our viewers' attention. We're done. We've counted down the top 10 things that made us go wow. Until we meet again, we ask you, listening, watching, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.